All right, here we go. Yes. Okay. Day 11. Yep, it is. All right, there we go. All right, it's not bad. We had a clear shot to the building, but then someone pulled in behind me, but we're going to just work with it. Yep. All right. I hear sound is clear on X. Yep. Thank you very much, Chris. Let me check. And also YouTube. So, YouTube, thank you very much, Allison. I'd love to see some YouTube super sticker, the various things that people can send, just so I know that it's working. Hi there, everyone. Yes. So you can send those on YouTube. Again, I want to see Facebook. So the audio is fine on X. Okay. And there we go. There he is. There's Bruce. All right. Audio sounds good on, I believe, on Facebook. I'm pulling it up right now. It's a little, I think the Wi Fi should be fine. Yes. Good afternoon, Jessica. There we go. Day 11. Where is Nancy? Oh, okay. Hopefully, it will not be that glitchy. We're going to just stay in one spot, and I think we should be okay. It is a very unusual case. I was just talking to a veteran investigator, said there's no precedent for this. There's Crystal. I don't know why I'm having problems with my. Let me shut this down for a minute. So, folks, last night now, for those of you that were watching, I did caution people. If you remember, now we're at the sheriff's office, sheriff's complex, I should say. And we'll do a quick walk around, but the sound should be fine. Let me, I want to just show you what I am. Let's see. Camera, and let's go. Okay. So here is the sheriff's complex. This is where we are. And the media is also camped out here as well. So now, yesterday, when these vehicles, when they went flying out, you could see bomb squad and so forth. That's when then people realized something was up. So the house continues to be a circus. If there's any press briefing, it's going to be done right here. So good morning, Chuck. Wow, Tucson, it is beautiful. This is day 11, and we're going to officially start in just a moment. Camera. And we'll go. Yes, here we go. So this should be good. I'm also, I think this will work. Scheduled to be on Newsmax later. As always, it is. And I just don't think there's anything going on here. I'd rather be where if something goes down, we could then be able to follow. And one of the things is by being here where the sheriffs are, if something happens, this is where they're all going to be leaving from. So, I mean, we might as well, this would be the alert. If there's going to be a briefing, it would be right in the building behind me. So I think it is. It is a mess. We're going to start in just waiting for, yes. So just waiting. Oh, good. Pete says good to go. Terrific. So we're going to start, and a little bit something different of being live 12-1 in the East Coast. So we're going to officially start, everybody. Again, we're going to be doing updates throughout the day. Right now it's 10:04 here. And trying to, it's not easy being when you are on the road like this. It can be challenging because you're knocked out of your element. But I'm going to go through everything the latest, and there are updates, by the way. They're not exactly the update that everyone wants, and there's a couple of things. I'll touch on that. I know people. That's a fair question, but I think someone that would ask that. Okay. Okay. Now I do want to give you the latest. I'll address that. I can address it now. They don't know what they're walking into. This is a very dangerous situation. Someone in the video, whenever there's someone in the video, that the individual in front of the house, he had a weapon. So when they see that, they don't want to. I assure you, they don't want to take any chances, and so therefore. As much as people see bomb squad, a lot of that could then just be a lot of the equipment they have. If they're going to go in, I think obviously whoever's responsible here, they would regard that person as dangerous. So, okay, there we go. And all right, we're going to begin. And folks, again, now, good afternoon where you are. Right now, it is 12:06 in the East. It's 10:06 here in Tucson, and we continue our coverage. This is day 11 of Where is Nancy Guthrie? So I want to walk through some of the different dynamics on it. Right now, we're live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. We're also live on our Facebook page. We're also live on X. And then we're also live on both, as I said, Facebook, YouTube, and X. You can follow all of that. Folks, DePetro.com. We will have all of our videos posted. DePetro.com, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. And by the way, when I mention our website, DePetro.com, that does have links to all of social media. They do have links to all of social media. So as a result of that, if you go to the website, first of all, we have so many new followers. You can learn more about the show. And then at the same time, you can then link to all of the platforms that I mentioned, which are obviously Facebook and X and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, right? Did I catch them all? TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X. So, and remember, it's X, not Twitter. It's X. So we're outside the sheriff's complex. I'm going to just rattle off some new information. I did see someone ask, is it true someone delivered a pizza? I was there yesterday. That did happen. So yesterday in front of the house, I don't think it was malicious, but one of the YouTube content creators ordered at least one, maybe two pizzas. So the Domino's guy pulls up. Now, the sheriffs have been just sitting in their vehicle. There's one sheriff, he was sitting in his vehicle, and it is true that a Domino's guy went up to the door. So initially, as I was with other members of the media, I thought, is it possible the police are working inside the house and actually ordered? That was not the case. So the person that ordered, I think it was two Domino pizzas, they were basically right in front of the house. So when I went over to the sheriff, I said, do we know that that's definitely a pizza guy? And he said, oh, well, he's got a pizza jacket on. But the Daily Mail, if you're unfamiliar with them, they're very aggressive with their coverage, both in the UK and here in America. They break a lot of stories. And it is conceivable that someone from the Daily Mail, I'm just using that as an example. Let's just say someone poses as a delivery person, or maybe it is a Domino's person or an Uber Eats person, and then they go up. So after that happened, and the person did walk right up to the door, the guy, he's ringing the bell. He's a Domino's pizza guy. He was oblivious to, he didn't know what was the house. He didn't know everyone was there. After that, not only did they send another sheriff, but I noticed they had the sheriff stand outside the car. It was not a good look. I'm not saying the Domino's guy contaminated the crime scene, but there should have been no one approaching like that. At one point, when Jake Tapper tried to go onto the property, the sheriff was then aggressive and they got him out of there. But let's just say there have been some missteps. That wasn't a great look. I don't know how much it impedes on the investigation. Let's talk about the events of yesterday. So I got a tip that they were headed south, the sheriff, the SWAT, and so forth. So there were also, by the way, I also want to be clear about this. There were multiple reportings. And so where I was, it was south of Tucson, but it wasn't as far. It's my understanding, the information that I got was where they had actually picked up the person of interest who was detained. So they did detain someone. He was a driver. And from what we understand, he had also gone to that home. What is odd about that is you have members of the media saying he had not dropped anything off that home until after the events of, February, really the window of February 1st is when that happened, and then February 2nd. So I'll admit it was a little bit confusing. Right now, I can tell you the biggest thing is they are very active trying to determine who is the image of the person going up. Where is Nancy? You have to realize things sometimes happen, and it doesn't mean it's malicious. It just means, oh, good, that guy's leaving. Things can happen, and then it can throw off the chain of events, such as apparently yesterday. Think of the timing of this. There was someone involved in an MVA, motor vehicle accident, south of Tucson. An 84-year-old woman was injured in the motor vehicle accident. So they send a chopper, and I understand why you send a chopper, by the way, out here. So everyone monitoring hears that they send a chopper helicopter to get an 84-year-old woman and fly her to the hospital. And at the same time, the SWAT team, the bomb squad, they go out. So everyone's thinking that. So I went down. Now, the individual, my information, the intelligence that I got, it wasn't wrong, but I was where they had picked up the tail of him. So the initial information I got was where they got him, but they didn't get him until farther when he was closer to his home. Now, yesterday, and for those that have followed the Brown University, yesterday, this guy who's talking to the media, he's a delivery guy, was saying, I have no idea why they, stopped me and so forth. He was cooperative. You can go through all my phones. He wasn't arrested. He was just detained. His picture was floating everywhere. People were making a connection. He's connected to an electrician that worked on the house. Because of the Brown University case where that guy in the Coventry Hotel was detained for the day and then they let him go. Now we want to be cautious about it. So I knew that they were on to someone. That's why I also did a video where I say I'm in, I'm south of Tucson, but heading towards the border. But, and then people started speculating, oh, they have the guys heading right to the border. And now we know, that's clearly, not what it was. I want to touch on, and someone asked about the amount of police that they sent. And I also want to remind you folks, when it comes to security, remember Capitol Fence. Contact Capital Fence. There's no fence around the Guthrie property. In hindsight, like a lot of people, they're not alone. I think a lot of people would do that. Do you have elderly parents or an elderly parent living alone? Maybe talking about, remember, fences are a barrier. Fences can be a deterrent. Fences can make someone decide to hit, another property for your home or business. Contact Capital Fence, and they do a tremendous job serving Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Contact them for free quote. We share their social media. Now, someone said, why did they send SWAT and bomb squad and all this stuff for a pizza or for an Amazon delivery guy? Well, they don't know what the deal is. They don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know who they're dealing with. They do know that the person seen going into Nancy Guthrie's home had a weapon on him. So for those of you that follow and watch when we're out and have covered so many crime scenes, you always roll in heavy. You don't send two officers to maybe question someone and then it, turns into a firefight. So I'm not surprised at that. If they get any intelligence on a suspect in this case, I assure you that they're going to send the SWAT and the command center and the bomb squad and everything they have. And by the way, they also did that with the Brown University shooting when they had the person who was staying at the hotel in Coventry who was detained for that Sunday. They had all those things there. So I don't think people fully understand that you don't just send someone knocking on the door. Hello. I mean, whoever is responsible for this, you have to approach with extreme caution. Now, I also want to caution people, and a lot of people are, asking me, and everyone's wondering. That's all everyone's talking about. There is a thought that whoever's involved will be caught. There's a lot of different theories. Not only do I not know, I don't think right now no one knows. You need a break in the case. One break in the case was the situation of the video in front of the house. Now, there's also disputed why did it take so long to get out. In many ways, this is day 11, but those images just came out. So the more that I'm going to go back to the Brown University shooting incident, where the connection to this was the homeless guy. Because then they said, who's that? And you want to spread it out like that. So right now, there's also a bunch of tips being phoned in. It takes a while to process and go through all of those tapes. But here's what you have to ask, I think. The person that is on that video, why were they going into that house? Was the intent to remove Nancy from the house? We still don't know. All this talk about Bitcoin and the ransom and how much it is, you have to remember that they actually they're not exactly sure. They're not sharing anything. So what we know is the police have not told us the individual that went in, was there more than one? Did they rob Nancy Guthrie? What was the purpose of removing her from the home? 84-year-old woman with a pacemaker. I want to throw out some scenarios, and sometimes these things we want to be cautious. We want to be sensitive to the situation. But is Nancy Guthrie alive? I'm going to just ask some questions that I think are good questions that are unknown. The person that you see on the image with the tools, handgun, and the mask, what was their intention to go in? Were they there to rob her? Were they there? Do they have the right house? Was that person there to kidnap an 84-year-old woman with a pacemaker? Okay, the person gains entry into the house. Was there a struggle? Was she harmed? If she have a pacemaker, you're 84 years old, suddenly it's 1:30, something like that, 1:47 in the morning, there's a guy, at least one, standing in your house with a mask, a ski mask. I don't know, but I mean, I might have a heart attack, let alone you're 84 years old living alone. Did she have a heart attack? And then that individual or someone else be like, oh my God, I think she's dead. And then they just removed her. But I still don't understand that, why you would do that if it was just a robbery, right? Like we've covered so many different cases. I was speaking with law enforcement last night. Why would you bring the individual? If you ever seen The Town, right? They do the robbery at merchants, Cambridge merchants, and then they bring Claire, the manager, and then they're asking, are we taking hostages now? And they talk about, a living witness. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Again, that is not known. And police don't. I mean, police haven't revealed that. Whoever went in, did they end up robbing the place? Is this someone? Let's just go through. I want to throw out a scenario. Is it possible that someone had worked on the home? Is it possible that someone had worked inside the home? Did the person that went in, the intruder, did they think they were going to find an empty home? How often is she there? Does she travel? Did someone get knowledge? We think she's going to be traveling. She's not going to be there. I don't know. Was she flying to the Olympics, with Savannah? We don't know that. My point is, did the individual maybe think that there was going to be no one home when they went in and then they were startled? I don't think you can rule that out. But what was their intention of going in? Did they take anything? Was that a robbery? Is this someone that truly they were there to kidnap her? And now this is a bona fide, ransom going on. Now, I do know I have some new information I'm going to give you. I want to stay on schedule. I want to remind everyone, if you ever have an accident, um, when I buy an accident, if you ever have a situation of where you have a fire or a flood, uh, when disaster strikes, remember, Serve Pro of Providence. Contact Serve Pro of Providence today. Maybe, and this could happen, maybe you have ice dams, and maybe it is, in fact, that some of that water is going to start to flow into your home. And now all of a sudden you have a flood, or now you have mold. Serve Pro of Providence. That happened. When that happens, especially if you have a flood or a pipe breaks or a mold or whatever it may be, Serve Pro of Providence. Contact them today. I want to recognize Chris. Thank you. What a fantastic job he is doing on our TikTok platform. Folks, as this is the story, this is a real mystery. So the elite, here's some information. I don't know. I was out late at the hospital because they thought word had flown that Nancy Guthrie had been flown to that hospital. That did not happen. It's also good for me to talk to other members of the media because they were also being called into different areas. People are contacting the media saying, there's a house here and I think they have the guy surrounded and blah, blah, blah. And when the media goes to the location, it is true. There is police there and it is a barricaded suspect, but it has nothing to do with the case. But the elite FBI, elite hostage negotiators have arrived and they're here in the Tucson area. Now, right now, again, for those who are just tuning in, this is the sheriff's complex behind us. As of right now, we're not hearing of any type of press briefing or anything that is scheduled for today. That could change. That could change. I noticed that last night they have kind of been reacting to some of the news. The update: investigators completed their search of a property in Rio Rico. Nancy Guthrie investigation is ongoing. No further details at this time. We had also had an earlier update. Pima County Sheriff's Department, assisted by the FBI evidence response team, conducting a court-authorized search of that location in Rio Rico related to the investigation. So that is true. They ran that down. It turned out not to be the case. I know that Kash Patel, the FBI director, also put out, well, he was here. He's here. I don't know if he's still here, but he was here. And he also posted, or I think he gave to the media, that they had several people of interest. Again, I come back to the whole key, and there's several questions we can ask about it, but who is that? Who is that person? What was their intention of going into? That was the person, and we talk about the ski mask, the firearm, the backpack. A lot of people have speculated that the gloves, a lot of people have speculated that it's not exactly a full pro, but right now they don't know who it is. I know they're also zooming in on the eyes. The man that was detained yesterday, he said his eyes matched it, which is possible. I'm holding up the picture of the eyes. So the things that I'm telling you, that is all still unknown. And are they going to are they in fact going to receive more information regarding if in fact, if this, are they kidnappers? Is there a ransom? Now I'm seeing right now, TMC has received another email from someone demanding money. This time it's someone claiming to have information about the kidnapper and attempting to contact the victim's children. Now, I think that type of thing, again, I don't know if that is legit, but that is also the type of thing that can happen with someone like this. I mean, it is frightening, but it is there is all kind of scammers out there, and there's people that come out of the woodwork and are trying to exploit this situation and see it as as a money grab. I want to just read some. I asked them if they could change throughout the day. They told me not at this time. Many of the field of surveillance video, detainment, questioning, very significant. It seems they're waiting for something more. So Pima County Sheriff have just put out there is no press briefing or interview scheduled at this time, although I did see the sheriff outside. I was too far away. I should have hit record. We haven't seen him. Chris Danos. Should a significant development occur, a press conference will be called, media will be notified. Okay, so that is basically the same. But I think what's really important is they need to make sure they can process all these tips. There's a lot of tips going in. From what we understand, there's so many tips that people can't even get through on the tip line. So some people were arriving right here where I am behind me, and they were going up to the sheriff's office and trying to give a tip right in person. But there's several things about this. Now, for, let's see, I want to just read some more. She's been missing since the pre-dawn hours of February 1st. New video has been released showing a masked, potentially armed man on her doorstep that morning. There have been no arrests. Her whereabouts remains unknown. I'm also seeing third letter sent to TMZ found to Hari 11 to know who the kidnapper is. Hour and a half ago, we got a bizarre letter say they know who the kidnapper is. They've been trying to reach Annie and the brother to no avail. They said they want one Bitcoin sent to a Bitcoin address that we have confirmed is active. Is that real? Is that actually happening? I also want to just address, when we have covered many of these missing persons cases, and again, right now, we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. We're also live on X. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, you can share that you are watching. If you're on X, you can also share that you are watching. On Facebook, you can also become a subscriber, send stars. But I will tell you that in covering these missing persons cases, it is torture on the family. And I'm not just even talking about the most recent ones. We covered, and many of you know, very in depth with Charlotte Lester. Thank you, Ray Kelly, who was missing. We also covered Michelle Romano. Michelle Romano's family, her sister Valerie, has posted that I was the only one that was following the case, the only one that would video them and put it out there. And then, she was found in a shallow ditch. I believe it was in Foster or Situate, near the Connecticut line, Then we had Kylie Montero from last August, missing in Rehoboth. But I even go back to, and some of you may remember this, it changed me and changed my perception of it. I know some people say closure for the family, but when story broke, and some of you may remember this, the story broke in 2011 that Michael Woodmansee was going to be let out. And I remember that story. I remember, if you lived in Rhode Island, I was very young at the time, but in the 70s, little Jason Foreman went missing. And it led to conversations, in my home and some of my relatives and friends of parents warning young children about be careful of strangers. And Jason Foreman, the reason why it picked back up, that was in the 70s. He suddenly didn't come home for dinner on a Sunday night. And some of you may remember, but I did an interview with John Foreman, his father, who I'm still in touch with. And I started the movement, and I did a rally at the ACI, and John Foreman came and spoke. And we also, at the time, we had Representative Peter Palumbo and others, and we were right outside where Woodmansee was. And I had the bullhorn, Woodmansee, we're out here. And Mike Woodmansee, we learned that Rhode Island had instituted a good time program where they were going to let him out for serving good time. The Jason Foreman story, that was in Wakefield, South Kingstown, and Jason Foreman suddenly didn't come home for dinner. So they start the search. Now, right down the street, a couple houses down, is where the Woodmansees lived. And Michael Woodmansee was this odd teenager. And his father was a police auxiliary. They let him direct traffic at the church on Sundays. Someone made the fatal decision and told the father, you search your own home. Now, he didn't search his own home. That house was squalor. But what no one knew at the time was little Jason Foreman, who was 5 or 6 years old, 7 maybe, but terrible. Woodmansee had gotten him, had sexually done something to him. And then after that, he then took the life of the little boy. Jason Foreman was right upstairs in Michael Woodmansee's room. And they said to the father, you conduct your own search. Well, he didn't even go upstairs into his son's room. And then it was years later. It was 6 years later. There was a kid delivering papers. I interviewed his family. And it was a paper boy who said that a guy, Woodmansee, he tried to do something like grab or touch the newspaper kid. That's when people would deliver newspapers. They immediately went to the house, and then the remains of Jason Foreman were up in Michael Woodmansey's room. My point is, when I interviewed John Foreman, during that span of time, he developed a drinking problem. They were prisoners. They couldn't go anywhere. Every time the phone rang, every time the phone rang, maybe that's a sign. Every time a car pulled into the driveway, they couldn't leave. They couldn't go on vacation. They couldn't do anything. Their life came to a halt, and not knowing what happened to little Jason Foreman. It was so twisted, and what is so was so cruel. He was no longer alive, but he was 2 or 3 houses down from the Foremans. It also, it hurt the family. I've interviewed members of the Foreman family. The mental torture it took every time the mail came, every time the phone rang, um, anytime again a car pulled into the driveway, just the endless nature of that. So for some people that don't understand the nature of this is an 84-year-old woman. This is a loved mother. This is a grandmother. And one of the reasons I have done, and we continue to do these missing persons cases, is just because I've seen and talked to people up close of just how the unknown is brutal. It was brutal on Charlotte Lester's family and friends. It was brutal on the family of Michelle Romano. When they get the remains, it's still devastating, but at least it's not the unknown. Right now is the unknown. So right now, I want to just check this. Now, there's also federal agents are canvassing homes and combing through nearby train in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. Same activity in Annie Guthrie. So we will pick that up probably later. So now these are grid searches. We saw this with Brown University. If you saw our coverage with Brown University, they literally, we saw it yesterday, they go door to door. They have a map, and they are literally hitting they start in the center, and they go to every house, they go to every business, they're looking through every yard. They are covering every inch of that property. But this is an 84-year-old woman, and I think when Savannah, it is just, it's so heartbreaking when you see her, they are just pleading for some type of a lead, some information, anything that could help resolve this. Now, folks, as we're out here again in the Tucson area, this is day 11, and there's several people I want to thank, especially sponsors that support us and allow us to do this type of coverage. This is very different type of coverage to do. It's very challenging, I can assure you of that. But Watson Materials, call Sean. At some point, here's some good news today. At some point, all that snow is going to melt. At some point, it's going to warm up. Watson Materials, the largest collection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, is Watson Materials. Call Sean for a free quote at Watson Materials. I also want to put in a plug for Kids Club on the Pike. It's right off of Plainfield Pike, Kids Club on the Pike, where, remember, not only is that a perfect spot to have any type of celebration with children, but they are instrumental, and they are a tremendous alternative for daycare options. Now, they also offer preschool. They have several locations, by the way. They're not just on Plainfield Pike off of 295 on the Cranston Johnston line. Kids Club on the Pike, they are also located they have a location in Warwick, several locations. Contact Kids Club on the Pike if you're looking for daycare options or preschool. They also offer that as well. So I want to recap. Again, this is day 11. and the search continues. What many times with these cases, and we've covered this, the authorities, in some ways, some people may not get this, but in some ways, to me, this case it's really in its second day because the case really, in some ways, started when they received the images of that individual seemingly going into the house. So I know it's day 11, but again, let's use Brown University as an example with the Brown University situation where things really took off. Yes, they had the images. Yes, they had the situation that happened in Brookline, that poor professor, the MIT professor. But where it really took off was when they identified video of the suspect, the person of interest, who we then found out to be that Claudio, the Portuguese national, when they had video of him interacting with that individual. So that was a big break in the case when the individual known as the homeless man, John, when he was able to tell them about a vehicle that had, the Florida plates, that really changed the game. And that's where the investigation went. So right now, the way I see this is they need, well, no one's been ruled out. No one's been ruled out. But I can tell you that so much of this is now focused on who was that individual that was entering the home. This could be some weird, folks, we don't know. Is this some weird thing of in cold blood? Is this that someone was in a prison cell and some guy's like, yeah, I know a house and this lady, she's never there and keeps money in the house, lives alone, 84 years old. I don't know. It's pretty decent size. She can't move more than 50 feet, I think. Elderly, but certainly has all her wherewithal. I don't, that is just an unknown. Now, out here, it's also, I also want to thank Propane Plus, the Johnson family. Remember, for all your propane needs, contact Propane Plus today online at propaneplus.com. Serving Rhode Island and Massachusetts, you can depend on Propane Plus. So we are outside the sheriff's complex and not far at all. Later today, I will be traveling probably to wherever the search is the most intense. And right now, it sounds like they're combing the neighborhood and the area in the Catalina Hills. I also want to mention to people, because some people someone asked me, like, how is this? This is odd. She was living out in the middle of nowhere. Where Nancy Guthrie, that house, it's a beautiful, very desirable area. And I was telling someone, I would almost liken it to, well, there's several areas, but if it's not in town. There are some people that live closer to town, but I think it's very upscale. It's very secluded. Everyone basically on an acre of property. Where Nancy Guthrie lives it's within, when I leave her house, when I'm there and then I'm going to drive, within 5 minutes, you are near some nice art, art galleries, Tucson art, that Southwest style of art is very, very popular. You also see, um, different restaurants, and you're 5 minutes away. So now you wouldn't necessarily walk to these places, but if you were going to go to Starbucks, if you were going to go out to dinner, if you were going to go to CVS, it is basically like a 5-minute drive from where she is, and it's a beautiful area, and the people that live there, they really like that quality of life. Okay, FBI Phoenix has put out a statement that I want to read. They just put this out. This is from FBI Phoenix office. This morning, numerous FBI agents are conducting an extensive search along multiple roadways in the Catalina foothills area related to Nancy Guthrie investigation. We're asking the media and the motorists to follow all traffic laws, remain especially cautious when passing personnel near the roadways. We appreciate the assistance support we have received from the Tucson community. The FBI continues to offer a $50,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie. And you can help by submitting tips to the FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's from FBI Phoenix. So we will definitely be out there probably a little bit later. You know, it's also interesting. If those of you remember the Maya Brophy Behrman case, we were able to get the reward up to $100,000 for information that would lead to the arrest and conviction in regarding this case. Some people have questioned, I don't know what you think about that. Do people think, that's a question, do you think, if you're watching right now, do you think would the reward really, what if the reward was bumped up to, 100,000? What if the reward was bumped up to 200,000? What if the reward was backed up to, or upped, I should say, to $500,000? In the movie Ransom, what seems to change the dynamic is the reward. The police officer who's actually the one who's the quarterback where they kidnap Mel Gibson's son in the film Ransom, takes place, they live in New York City. They kidnap him out of Roger Williams Park, Central Park. But in Ransom, that's when the guy decides, forget this. He takes out everyone he was working with, and then he delivers the boy, and then he shows up to get the reward from Mel Gibson. So I don't know how much that might, maybe it would. I don't know what to think at this point, but this is a highly unusual case. And until they learn the identity of that individual, I think that is just so key as to what was their intent. And we can walk around a little bit in what was the intent in going into the house in the first place. So, and that, I just want to remind people, I mean, that is an unknown. Actually, with all the sun, we'll just stay here. So this is very impressive. This is the sheriff's complex here. This is where the press briefings are. This is where they work out of. Anything happens, it'll happen right here. This also has become a big media staging area. You can see all the media assembled down there. Media have come in from all over. This is a real life whodunit. And I also think that that's something that people need to understand, maybe for those that don't, because I see, I don't understand the people that feel the need to post, who cares and that type of thing. Well, first of all, you can say that about any case, but on something like this, I'll tell you what I don't understand is the people that actually take the time to post a comment saying, who cares when it comes to a case of this magnitude? When you have an 84-year-old woman in a very desirable area, 84 years old, who disappears seemingly out of her home, and then, obviously make her daughter and make her the daughter of a known person. And this is real intrigue. This is the biggest missing persons case right now in the country. I would imagine they're watching a lot of different people and they're monitoring a lot of different people. You don't want to tip anybody off. you don't want to tip anybody off, but they are absolutely monitoring everyone. They could have um, surveillance on that individual. They may know of their social media, not social media, but their electronic devices. And, the thing about a case like this, so, but just to answer the question, do I think, yeah, I would say they definitely are. And people have pointed to that they think that, I mean, I see it just like everybody else. And you go back to, you had Ashley Banfield coming right out in the very beginning and saying that the sister and is a sheriff and monitoring everything. The sister and the brother-in-law, Tommaso, I would think, as they've said, right now, no one has been uh, ruled out. Now, as I say that, it is possible that the that they have in fact cleared the family, but they're not saying that. But I'm aware about the son-in-law, Annie's husband. Um, People have talked about, he was in a band, and some of the people that he was in a band with, and he was in a band with someone who was then involved with some kind of a breaking breaking and entering case. I assure you that the police are aware of all of that and monitoring all of that. So, but right now on this day 11, Guthrie mystery, suspect released, I'm innocent. Um, that at least that, excuse me, anytime that someone can be eliminated, at least that guy's eliminated. But look who they're looking at, delivery people. Is it someone? Is it someone that had worked on the home? Yesterday, when this individual was being detained, word spread all over that there was an electrician that had been inside the house, and those are the keys that the gloves that an electrician would use. And that obviously did not pan out in that way. So, but that doesn't mean are they right now looking at another delivery person? I can tell you that a lot of these delivery people, they're hired by third parties. When we think of delivery people, do you remember, those of you that follow a lot of the crime that we cover in the Rhode Island area, Cranston just broke that big case. In Cranston, you had the guy, he was an Amazon driver, and he was actually doing robberies on his route. He had a criminal record. He got hired as a third party vendor, and he was literally a lot of those small mom and pop type convenience stores. He was committing crimes in between deliveries. So if he was, first of all, when the police would go to the location, they'd see the Amazon truck driving away. If he was asked, were you in this area? He'd say, yeah, I was making a delivery there. He would um, park near, he's on his route, and you get to know your route. And there was these small convenience stores. He would park near the store, take off the Amazon jacket, go in, rob the place, run to his van, and put on the Amazon jacket, take off the mask, and then just start driving. And as the police are looking, they're saying, did somebody drive off? Was there someone on foot? When they're using those flock cameras, they're looking at the different vehicles. That was someone that used the Amazon, that enabled him. And he pulled off, I mean, I forget how many it was, but it was more than 10. And I think he had a weapon. So my point is, these third party vendors, that guy had a pretty extensive criminal record from what I remember. But I mean, he hadn't killed anyone, but he definitely robbed people and got in trouble. I think he was involved in a shooting. But my point is, now it's years later, and who's to say, a lot of times he's just the delivery guy, but how vetted are they? So is there someone who has, criminal intent? Is there someone that has been doing that type of crime out here? Is there someone who makes a delivery and is chatty with people? I don't know. Again, all of you, I don't really, know about Nancy Guthrie. I know that a lot of times elderly people can be chatty with people. Hey, how are you today? Good. Oh, what are you doing on this nice day? Oh, I'm just getting ready. I'm going to go travel to New York to, see my daughter. Oh, that sounds nice. Have a nice trip. But, it goes into their mind. Oh, going to be out of town on a trip. Maybe they see a lot of deliveries are made here. Maybe at Christmas time, some pretty expensive items being shipped here. Hey, you again, Hey, I was dropping off that package. Oh, well, I was out of town. Oh, you're out of town. Where should I put the package if you're going to be out of town? How would I know you're going to be out of town? My point is, you get someone that starts to get a little bit of the lay of the land. I don't know about. Hey, you know, oh, I know who you are. It's him. How many people let a delivery person in to use? I don't know. Use the bathroom. Would you like some water? Out here, a lot of people are asking, "Do you want water?" Because it's so hot and people dehydrate. So I think that's also interesting. And I think I come back to who is that individual? Were they working with someone? I also thought, let's just say it is the delivery person. Um, and is it possible that Nancy recognized who it was? I'll go back to the movie. I know it was a movie, but in Ransom, the little boy, he recognized the son. He saw that at the cater, when they were doing a catered event, the girl had a specific tattoo on her. I think it was on the back of her neck, much like the town, right? When Jem has the leprechaun fighter tattoo on the back of his neck. And again, with the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson, when the little boy was kidnapped, when he hears the voice of the police officer who's coming to, pick up the reward, as soon as he hears the voice, he, has an accident. He wets himself because he knows exactly who it is. So my point is it possible that she was like, wait a minute, I know who you are. You're the man that fixed the pool. You're the man that fixed my roof. You're the, like, whoever might be. And then did that lead to um, that that something happened? I don't know. I just saw, and I want to address this. I don't understand why some people are disingenuous. I want to pop something that's out there. So Senator Mark Kelly issued a statement. U.S. Senator Mark Kelly lives in Tucson, addressed the Guthrie investigation for the first time since the man was detained. He's urging people to come forward with tips. So now there's people posting, and they're posting on my page, which I can't stand, but they're posting, why did Savannah Guthrie contact Senator Mark Kelly before she contacted the police? That is not true. If you read what's been reported, they say that Savannah Guthrie, so the family went to the house, discovered that the mother was not there. They call the sheriff's office. The sheriff goes right out. Then they call Savannah in, I'm assuming New York or wherever she is. It hasn't broken publicly yet, but they say before it breaks publicly, she calls U.S. Senator Mark Kelly, a friend of hers, and says, hey, something's up with my mom. So my point is, it's not why did she call him before she called the police? That's not what they was reported. It was reported She called him before it was made public. And there's nothing wrong with that. I, know Senator Reid, if something happened, let alone if you're out of town, I might call Senator Reid and say, hey, I'm out of town right now, but could use your help. Something's in the mix. But she didn't call him. And this is so important. She didn't call him before she called the police. She called him after they had contacted the police and before it went public. All right, folks, again, it is day 11. The search continues. I don't know. It's a bizarre one. Let's hope that someone recognizes who this is. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you, everybody on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody on Facebook. We'll have more updates later today for all our subscribers. Day 11, where's Nancy?